Okay, so you can give the different characters a voice, and you can ask them that you can ask the child to give them a voice and to say, I'm the baby, and maybe what would the baby say in this situation? What does the baby need? And who do you think can help and can assist the baby? And what I want to say about this is that you have to make use a lot of your intuition. Now, you have to, when you do this work, there's not a one specific method that is right. So sometimes it might be that you did not plan to intervene in the post-traumatic play of the child, but by intuition you feel like you have to intervene now, and it might be the 100% right away. The thing that we need to be very, very careful for is that if the child shows us that he or she is not ready to take that solution, and you as a therapist force it on the child, the only thing that you reach there is that maybe you feel better, or because you might be also traumatized by the story that the child tells over and over without a resolution. But it will definitely not mean that the child will integrate that if it becomes your thing. So be very sensitive for the child's readiness to take that, and that is why it takes quite a few sessions before we intervene in the play. But on the other hand, if the play really becomes stagnant and we do not intervene, the child's re-traumatized now, and that's also not ideal. In fact, we don't want that at all in play therapy. So it is, I think, the suggestion to be able to intervene in a high or a lower level in the child's play is very, very helpful for some children. And I've really seen situations where a child, there's total change. I'm reminded of a girl that was very, very scared of burglars, and there was a burglar at their house, and she was dreaming every night that the burglars came back, and specifically had nightmares that the burglars wanted to kill her. And she was making a drawing of that, and I asked her, so how would you like the dream to end? And she said, I want, she took a scissor and she literally cut out the burglars in the picture. And then we moved to the sandbox, and I asked her, so I want you to build me a story of how the dream that you get before we've cut out the figures, and the dream that you how does it look now after you've cut out? How do you feel now? And she did two different sand scenes, and the one was a very scary scene, and the other one was a very peaceful scene. And for whatever wonderful reason, that was the end of the nightmares, and that was the end of her being scared, because she's accessed a part in her psyche that can help and assist. The problem with the traumatized children is that because the trauma is stored in the self-care system, in the unconscious, with sometimes very, very rigid defenses around that, what happens is that the story replays in the child's psyche, in the child's unconscious, and often frequently in dreams and nightmares, because the psyche is not as good with the defense mechanism when we are dreaming. And so what is happening is that the child themselves cannot get a resolution out of that. And the reason why we have to intervene is that the voices inside of the child's psyche that's telling the child, it's your fault, you've done something, and no one must know. Those two voices simultaneously now is re-traumatizing the child in the inside of the psyche. So it's in the end not the outer trauma that is traumatic anymore to the child, but the inner trauma continues. And we want to assist and help a child and work in a multi-professional team in terms of medication. But I've seen very good results if we need to intervene, and we intervene in that place. Our first prize is always if the child on their own can become strong enough to find a resolution, or find a superhero, or find help, or how you can in a subtle way see that the story of the trauma change every week. So that is definitely our first option, is that the child, maybe not the first option, but I mean, if the child can access that in their own psyche, that is very good now, because it actually means that they developed in the therapy the ego strength to be strong enough to allow little bits of the trauma that's stored in the unconscious to come up, and to work through that, and then to store the intolerable trauma as the intolerable memory as tolerable memory, and a part of my story, but not something that is haunting me anymore. So we absolutely, need to help the child that is haunted by the inner voices to work through that, and play is an absolutely fantastic way to do that. Okay, that's all for today. Thanks.